What's up, everyone? We're back. I got through all the boring conceptual stuff, and now we're going to actually go into passes. And now that the boring stuff is over, I got a haircut, so you can look at my beautiful beard and hair for the rest of the instructional. Well, hopefully we finish it on this trip, and I don't come back looking homeless again. But we're back, and we're going to start going into some Toriando passes. So, you ready? All right. We're going to look at going into basic Toriando passing into side control. Now, starting off super basic, okay, we looked at feinting and creating tension in our partner's legs. Once we can actually step to a flank, this is going to make it pretty easy for us to start going in and putting a lot of pressure on our partner. Now, if our partner doesn't have correct frame, she's not bringing the legs in, if I could just make a transition where I can Toriando and then immediately move out to side control and get some kind of control of my partner's head and shoulders, it's a pretty easy thing to just crash in and go and chest to chest and pass my partner. So this is, again, someone who's relatively naive, where we Toriando maybe one time, maybe a few times, and they don't have the proper frames, and we come in and we just dive in and crash in chest to chest. So we come in, we initially go into some kind of Toriando type movement where we get out to the side like so, and then for example, I see my partner try to put her legs on the floor and shrimp away from me, and the frames aren't in correctly. I just come in and we just crash. We just go in and we get to a top head and arm like so. Now our whole thing is going to be to shrimp away from me and get the right knee to right elbow connection. So from here, we just walk towards our partner's hips. We shelf the leg and we cover into top side control with a good top pin. Usually, when we are looking for passes like this, we usually look at our partner's framing. If I see at any point my partner's knees drift away from the chest, and if I see at any point my partner's using straight shoulder posts, like so, this is the time to go in and pass right to side control. If my partner's using a cross shoulder post, this cross shoulder post now dominates my shoulder line and makes it incredibly difficult for me to come in and make upper body contact. So whenever I see my partner's trying to bridge and shrimp away, and from here she has a two shoulder post that goes straight across from her shoulder to my shoulder, I just come inside. I take my two hands to the inside position. As this happens, from here, we just take two hands inside. I come forward, my head comes down to my partner's shoulder, and we move into a situation like so. Either landing into a full underhook and cross face, or moving into a position where I have an inside bicep tie, and from here, we can go in, lock a 10-finger grip, and then work to start punching in underhooks at a later time, okay? So whenever I go to hit Toriando, and I see my partner bring the feet to the floor to try to shrimp away from me, and the two hands come up and post to my shoulders. Whenever I see this is the time for me to go. From here, we take a hand inside. If this arm slips off, then you just go right in. Most of the time, you'll have to take two hands to the inside, and as I come forward, I just crash my head to the far shoulder, like so. And now from here, we go in, we lock up. She goes to invert the right knee. We just circle towards the hips, and we're ready to go into a top pin against a pretty naive opponent who tries to shrimp away and isn't utilizing her frames properly. Okay, it's just a very basic pass into side control, getting chest to chest off of an initial Toriando. All right, so this time, let's assume we get past our partner's hip line. We hit the Toriando, and we see upper body frames like a cross shoulder post coming in, for example, but the knees are still away from the chest enough where we can exploit the knee-elbow connection, and we can go into a knee on belly. When we go into a knee on belly, especially without the gi, the main danger associated with this is that our legs are open to attack, okay, because there's no upper body connection. I don't have control of the head and shoulders. And there's no lapel to grab onto to give me control of the head and shoulders. So the main danger associated with knee on belly is if she goes to pass me into a knee on belly position, is that the second she goes to pass, I'll scoop inside the leg like so, I'll scoop inside the second leg, and as I bump her forward, I access the second leg, I use this direction hand to guide me through, and now you're in backside 50-50, and your heel's exposed, and you were halfway to a guard pass, and now you're halfway to getting your leg broken, okay? So, what is the main thing that the bottom player is looking to do from this position? When she moves into a knee on belly, all right? If I can exploit the space between her knees, I can go into leg entries on her, okay? So what this means is that the wider her knees are apart, the easier it is for me to enter into her legs. The closer her knees are together, the harder it is for me to enter into her legs, okay? So my whole thing from bottom position is to get her stepping forward towards me, so that from here, I get her hands to the floor, and then I can exploit the space between her knees and fire my legs into various attacking positions. So from top, when we were looking to pass, our goal is to minimize the space between our two knees. So from here, we go in, we hit a Toriano, maybe we're feinting side to side, we use a feinting, and we go in and we go into a Toriano like so. We get to this pivoting position, and from here, I take my knee down to my partner's belly, like so. From this position, I take my two hands on the floor. Now, as my partner goes to start scooping inside my leg, I see that she's going to enter into my legs if I stay here. So what I do is I close the door between my two knees. Right now, there's a huge gap, a huge doorway between my two knees. So I close that door by figure fouring my legs and moving to a head over head position like so. So that now from here, even if she scoops inside my leg and she goes to start bridging and off balancing me, I use my hands to push back towards her hips. And I keep my head over hers. When she goes to exploit the space now, there's no space between my legs because they're figure forward. And now, as she goes to make a recovery from here, it's a difficult thing. Now, the only thing your partner can look to attempt to do from here is look to give big bridges to either side to start to off balance you. It's imperative that when I see my partner go to bridge, initially I have weight over the hips. When I see my partner go to bridge, I don't keep weight on the hips. If I have someone super uber explosive, she can give a quick bridge and get a strong off balance. So my whole thing is I plant my hands. I have weight over the hips so she carries my body weight. When I see her go to give an explosive bridge, I relax my legs and I just float on my hands. Go ahead. Move bridge. So I can follow my partner around, and every time she moves back down and away, and she puts her back on the floor and her butt back on the floor, I keep weight on her. So every time she goes to bridge, I lean my weight to my hands, and I just slightly extend my legs like so. So that I don't really feel the weight of her bridge. If there's weight over her and she gives a strong bridge, I get a severe off balance. So I put weight onto my hands. So when she goes to bridge, she goes to move around. And now from here, it's a pretty easy thing to start my work. So I Toriano and I move into this situation like so. Now, depending on where your partner goes, is going to depend on how you pass. If your partner takes an elbow all the way across, for example, goes into a situation like so, then it's a pretty easy thing to either move back to side control and start going in, punching in inside bicep ties, punching into underhooks on this side. If she's naive and she takes the elbow too far across, then there's back exposure with figure four backhand arms and backhand arms, various different hand connections we can use. If my partner starts turning towards me, then it's a pretty easy thing to start going in, punching in underhooks on this side, going in cross faces, throwing in double underhooks. I'm gonna start bridging towards me, pommeling across the other side. There's various different things that we can do from here, okay? But the main thing is getting to this position where we're knee on belly, we close the doorway between our two legs. I keep weight over the hips. When she goes to bridge, I take weight off the hips. We just float on our hands over our partner with our head over our partner's head. And we wait for our opportunity. When we see an opportunity, now we can punch underhooks in. We can get to that cranial shift that's so important. And now we can look to start passing our partner into side control, into mount, and work from there. We're taking our partner's back. It's completely contingent upon what your partner does with their hand position. But there's always going to be an opportunity for you, once you pass the legs, to make that cranial shift and either go into passes or back takes. All right, so I guess during this clip, Sunny's going to have socks on because she's a frozen popsicle here in Boston. So she's going to be wearing socks on this clip. How cold is it outside?
In this clip, and probably in the further clips too, it's 17.
Outside, right?
Well, outside, but inside it's very cold too. So I'm going to be wearing socks.
But not 17, right? It's just cold?
It's 32 max inside. It's really cold.
I don't know about that, but...
My feet are purple.
It's a little cold.
It's very cold. Anyways.
All right, so let's look now at a way that we can move back into our partner's legs we looked at this idea in body lock passing, body lock specific study, the idea of backtracking, where we go back into our partner's legs, provided it's on our own terms. I don't have an issue with going back into my partner's legs. I'm a big advocate of getting past the legs and then moving back into some kind of guard, provided you re-engage the legs on your own terms and not your opponent's terms. Okay, so let's take a look at this now. We hit this Toreando, and we get to the side like so, and we get past our partner's legs, and we try to go into this knee on belly position. Maybe we find ourselves in a situation where our partner bumps us too far forward, and we get out of position, or maybe she's trying to scoot away from me and shrimp away, and I feel like the knee is going to come back inside, or I'm going to be severely off balance. Whenever I see this, just control your partner's hips. I take my knee, we apply in this position here, and from here I immediately just take my knee and I drive it between my partner's legs, and I just plant my knee on the floor and connect my knee and my elbow on this far side. When she goes to shrimp away now, she can't because of my elbow position. And I have a very clear advantage because of the fact that I have a butterfly hook above my partner's knee. I never go below the knee because now she can lock me in the full half guard. Not the end of the world, because you're still chest to chest, but I want to go into a cross shin pin above my partner's knee like so. And from here, we play a game where now we have our head over our partner's far shoulder. When she goes to push away, it's a difficult thing. I can fight hands to the inside, and we can start passing from here. Okay, so we go into a Toreando. We'll look at how to pass next. We go into a Toreando. We go side to side. We're feinting. We move out to the side, and we go and we try to go knee on belly. Or from here, we go in and we go to start playing a game where we outflank our partner. Whenever I see the legs are coming up or I'm having an issue, from here I just go right from the Toreando, and we just go right into this cross shin pin. Or from here I play a game where you can either go figure four or you can unlock your legs. Both are good. And from here, we go knee to elbow connection on the far side. When she goes to start shrimping away or moving away, you find it's a very difficult thing from here, and you can always go in and form some kind of upper body connection and start passing either to side control or to mount with this cross shin pin. So it looks like you're in half guard, but you're not. The purpose of this is to control your partner's hips to stop her high legging, stop her shrimping away, so you can actively control the hips, and then you can work at your pace to actually pass their legs and pass their guard. Okay, so this time you go into a Toreando, you feel things are getting kind of dicey, you want to pin the hips, control your partner, so you go to a cross shin pin, and then we can work from there. All right, so now let's look at passing from this cross shin pin. I'm not going to spend a super long amount of time on this because it's not really what this instructional is about. It's more about camping and high stepping. And we covered a lot of these passes and fighting to inside position in the first instructional, so I don't want to get redundant. I want to focus on what's important in this, and that's the camping and the high stepping and the philosophy behind the passing. But nonetheless, we will spend a little bit of time on this passing here. Whenever I get into this cross shin position, there's two general directions I can go. Okay, one is to side control, and one is to mount. Generally, I'm passing to side control on this side, but not always. And generally, I'm passing it to mount. So my general idea is that if I can get an underhook on the far side, I generally pass to side control, or you have an option of passing to mount. Provided that you can't get to an underhook on this far side, I generally look to start passing into mount. Okay, and we'll look at why. So if we can come in and my partner's posting on me, she's trying to move out and away. If I can come in and I can get an underhook and a crossface like so, now it's going to be a pretty easy thing for me to just walk towards my partner's hips. And from here, I just extend my right leg and I shelf it and I shelf my partner's legs and I can easily pass. Okay. The main issue you're going to run into is that if you try to go into a mounted position, my partner will take her hand and block my knee. Other hand. My hand and block my knee, and you can run into some problems here. Okay. So in general, I'm not gonna say you can't pass the mount. You can do things where you can lean forward and you can open up your partner's arm and then you can pass into mount. But if I have the underhook, the path of least resistance is going to be to walk to side control. So I see I'm trying to mount, and she's posting on my knee, and from here, we just come in and we walk towards our partner's legs, and we scissor our legs, and then we just take our knee underneath our partner's. When she goes to lock a side guard on me, I always have the inside hip position, And we can take our partner's leg into a shelf position and we can start passing it from there. Okay? If I feel that my partner has good inside position of the upper body and I can't get to an underhook, now there's ways to fight to underhooks. I can go in with the inside bicep tie, I can open up, I can play a game like so. If I feel like I can't get a far side underhook, maybe sometimes we can get a near side underhook. We can start going in and we can start passing. There's plenty of different things that we can do from here. All right. In general, if I can't get a far side underhook, what I look to start doing from here is I look to start taking an elbow inside my partner's hip like so. And now I play a basic game. If my partner doesn't do anything with her hand position, I just slide across, move into a shin mount, where from here, we just drive across, we slide our knee up to our partner's armpits, we pass into mount. So generally, what's going to happen, we play a dilemma game where if my partner's hand is here, or if my partner's hand is here, and I just can't get an underhook, if I go to start taking my knee across to a shin mount, she will post on my knee. This will always expose the elbow, and now she'll push it back down, but I will always be able to gain the underhook, and now you can start passing in multiple directions. Again, there's almost an innumerable amount of pommels I can do from here, whether it's passing the side control, whether it's opening my partner's elbow and driving across the mount, whether it's splitting my partner's legs and going in some kind of passes from here. There's just a ton of different things that we can do. We can start pommeling in near side underhooks, and passing across to the opposite side. There's a ton of different things that we can do from here. The main game that we're playing is pinning our partner's hips and then playing a game between underhook and crossface. In general, if I can get far side underhook, we pass across to side control. In general, if we can't get an underhook, then I start playing a game with an inside elbow, where I just walk across to a shin mount and I put my knee in the floor. If I can put my knee in the floor, it's a pretty easy thing to start sliding up into a mounted position. If I can't mount my partner, she posts on the knee, that exposes the elbow, and now from here, we have our underhook once again. And then you have, obviously, the other attacks that we can look at if my partner starts coming in. We can start pulling arms down and sitting over for kimuras. We can go near side underhook. If she sits up towards me with an underhook, we can go in and start going front headlocks. We can do all the things we did in the first passing instructional as well with the submission attacks and different passes. These are just some general ideas from this cross shin pin to start passing your partner once you have their hips pinned. Okay, and there's very great options you have. And there's many options you have as far as passing and attacking your partner's guard. All right, so just reiterating, there's going to be a time where you can't force a cross shin pin, and there's going to be a time where you can't force knee on belly. There's going to be a time where you can't pass the side control. Whenever you see this and your opponent brings the knees and elbows together, you have a great option of looking at camping and high stepping. We're going to do that later, but your first reaction should always be Toriando back on the opposite side. So if I feel I go in, I'm feinting here, I'm moving around, I'm playing, and then from here I Toriando one side, the knees come in, I'm trying to hit my pass, I feel like I can't do it. As she goes to bring the knees in, I just take her legs a little bit further than she wanted to go, and as she goes to face me, I Toriando back the other way. And now from here, I can go in and I can start playing a game where I go in and pass to the other side, or Toriando back in the opposite direction. You can chain these Toriandos together, side to side. Okay, so just reiterating, don't just do one Toriando and expect to get past your partner's legs and past your partner's guard. Okay, Toriando side to side until you feel an opening, and that's your chance to either drop down to side control, or circle to north-south, or start camping, or start high stepping, and play a game from there. So what's going to get you initially past your partner's J point is the Toriando, and then Toriando side to side and pressure over time is what's going to wear your partner down, exhaust them, and allow you to get into your prime passing positions. Okay, so now we're going to talk about J-point camping, okay, and how we can set up both on a naive opponent and an opponent who's much better. First of all, what is J-point camping? All right, when I get past my partner's hip line and get to the jeopardy point, you're just going to set up camp. And you're going to stay in this given position for as long as it takes you to either force half guard or pass your partner's guard. It can be 5, 10, 20, 30, 45 seconds. And eventually your partner's going to get exhausted. Okay? So we're going to look at, first, what is this position? We've all seen this position here, right? Where I have a hand on my partner's knee. I have a hand cutting over my partner's hip. I have a nice false grip over the far hip with a forearm inside my partner's hip. We've all seen this from here. We've all seen this from here, like so. The one mistake that everyone makes, which is the biggest mistake, is that they don't have proper head position. So your partner from here, high legs over. Now she has the inside position with the leg, and the whole pass falls apart. You need to have your elbow inside and your shoulder inside in order to pass. So from here, they come in and they start playing a game from here. The high leg comes over, and now you're beat. So my whole thing is, when I move to a camping position, I come 1, 2, and then I crash the far shoulder with my head. So my forehead goes right to the far shoulder like so, and I just move into this tripoding position. When she gets to high leg now, it's impossible. When she gets to push me off, it's impossible. When she gets to trap me with her bottom leg, difficult. We just hang out and we camp in that position, okay? This is so important, and it creates a massive amount of pressure on the bottom player. Another important thing is I want to be relatively perpendicular, not parallel. If I go in parallel, you run into 2 straight shoulder posts, where a strong person, even if I close the distance, can bench press me off, and now high leg over. So from here, whenever I see 2 strong frames coming in, I just run to a perpendicular angle. When she goes to start bench pressing me, it messes up the frames, and now she can only push me out in this direction. She can no longer push me towards her legs, which means she can't high leg. If she can push me towards her feet, the high leg comes over. If she can only push me out towards the side, got a high leg, the high leg can never come over. So whenever I see a high leg is inevitably going to come in, I just run, go ahead. I just run to this perpendicular angle, and I just camp in this position here. I just set up camp. And now from here, when she goes to regard, it's incredibly difficult. You're using almost zero energy, and she has to be in a constant state of tension, pulling her knees to her chest, okay? And she can no longer push you with the legs to regard. The legs are very strong, pushing away, but very weak, pulling knees to the chest, okay, to recover. So whenever I can pass my partner's knee, this is what I'm looking for, okay? The leg can push at the foot, at the shin, and at the knee. But once you go beyond the knee, now she can only pull. So my whole thing is to get past that J point and just set up camp. Now, how can we do this on a partner who's relatively naive? If I see someone who lets me control legs for long amounts of time, I just come in and she's not really doing anything. She's not really giving me a reaction. It's hard to create tension. She's very mobile. I just simply walk to an angle, like so. I just skip out to an angle. And from here, I switch from a shin to a knee to a hip. And as I come down to the hip, I just focus on crashing the far shoulder, forehead to far shoulder. So when she goes to frame and high leg, we just move into this position. We start camping on our partner's J point, and we're in, ready to go. So when I see a naive opponent, allows me to just walk to an angle, what she should be doing is facing me. But if she doesn't, if she allows me to take an angle, I just walk in, I move out to the side. From here, we just come in, 1, 2, 3. When my hands come in place, my hand goes from the shin to the knee, the shin to the hip, and the head to the shoulder. So as she goes to high leg, it's already too late. She's here, she's letting me play. Now she realizes, oh, he's closing distance. Let me high leg. Go ahead. It's already too late. And now from here, we have this good perpendicular angle. We have a hand on the knee, a hand over the hip, and a head on the far shoulder, putting weight into my partner. So from here, when she goes to recover, it's a very, very difficult thing indeed, and I can look to start passing at my pace on my time. Now that we have an understanding of what this J-point camping is, let's look at how to do it, how to actually achieve this position on someone who's relatively talented. Okay, what I can't do on someone who's talented is just expect to walk to an angle and go into this position. The second I go to switch my hand position, she's immediately going to high leg over, and then this will happen. So normally what I have to do on someone who's talented is I have to create more of a drastic angle change in order to actually move into this position. One where I'm well past my partner's J point, and then as the high leg comes over, we can move into a camping position. If I'm still relatively in front of her, if she's an idiot, then I'll just move into position. And if she's smart, if I try to do it when I'm relatively in front of her, I'll run into 2 frames in the shoulders, a high leg, and I won't be able to move into position. Okay? So generally what I like to do is I like to play a game where I toreando and I get to a more drastic angle where I'm here, I'm playing a game, and then from here, as I go to toreando, I step like so, and I make my turn. Now our whole thing is to find ways to put herself back in front of me. So as she goes to do so, I go from the shins and I just place my hands. Now as she goes to bring everything back inside, I just step a leg back. So I take this leg that's near the hip, I step it back, and now as she goes to high leg, I'm at more of a drastic angle. When she goes to push me down towards the feet now, she can't. She can only push me out and away towards the side. And this makes it much easier now to move into this camping position. Okay? So we start going side to side, we're feinting. I use a switch step, a shuffle step, whatever the case is. We toreando, and we look to start passing from here. The second I see her legs go to come back in, we go in like so. And now as she goes to high leg, the whole thing is my head beating the high leg. So I just crash the far shoulder by just stepping my leg back, and my head comes right down to that far shoulder. So as she goes to high leg, we play right from this position here. Okay? This will make it much easier for us to get into this camping position. All right? We pin our partner's far shoulder, we pin the far hip, and we start working. If my partner's naive, we come in and we just make a switch. Against anybody good, you're going to have to create more of an angle where you first step past the J point and then you start camping. All right? So we're playing a game. She goes to recover, and now we start camping, and we're ready to start passing right from there. Okay? So whenever I can get past the J point and create an angle change where instead of being relatively in front of my partner, we're relatively perpendicular, it'll be much easier to start camping because of the fact that you don't run into those 2 shoulder posts and allow the high leg to come in. So now let's talk about, we actually get to this J point camping position. What is actually stopping us from passing our partner's guard? We beat the frames to a degree. We beat the high leg. Now, what's actually going to stop us from coming down, solidifying control of my partner's head and shoulders, and actually getting past their guard? It's always going to be the connection of your partner's near knee and near elbow. If at any point she can form the strong connection and generate a side guard, forming this V shape with her arm and leg, it's going to be impossible for me to exploit any space between the elbow and knee and come forward and get to a top pin and get any meaningful connection to my partner's body. Okay? So when I get to this position, understand the whole battle being fought is the battle at the near knee and the near elbow. Her entire goal is to keep the knee and elbow connected long enough to re-guard and get a high leg back in place or get a foot to my hip or entangle my legs. And my whole goal is to hold her in place long enough and camp long enough to be able to separate the knee and the elbow, exploit the space between them, and then come forward, crash the far shoulder, and get to some kind of top pin. Okay, so just understand this is the battle you're going to be fighting. It's always near knee, near elbow. She's looking to connect them. I'm looking to separate them. Okay, so now when we get to this camping position, there are 2 main positions my partner can put her knee in. She can have an outward-facing knee where it rides relatively along the floor, or she can have an upward-facing knee where it points up towards the ceiling. And how we're going to pass, there's two different directions we're going to take here. Okay, so just understand that when I get into this camping position, I can have a position like so, where my partner's knee is relatively close to the floor and she's moving it around down here, or I can get into a situation where I get to this camping position and now the knee is off the floor and is pointing up towards my chest. And how I'm going to pass will be 2 different general directions that I'll pass with knee on the floor versus knee pointing up towards my chest. So understand, if you get to this camping position and your partner has one knee position versus the other, you're going to be looking at 2 different kinds of passing. All right, so let's look at, we go into this camping position, and my partner's knee is pointed relatively up towards my chin. Okay, we're gonna be spending a lot of time in this position, so it doesn't matter. Some of you guys complain that she's smaller than me. It doesn't matter how small the person on bottom is. It is exhausting to stay in this position. I'm not gonna be in a full camping position for like an hour explaining these moves. So I'm just gonna start with one knee down so she doesn't have to fully bring her knees to her chest the entire time. Okay. So we're gonna have a knee facing towards us like so. From this position, we're gonna switch our hand grip, where I have a thumb on the inside of our partner's knee to a thumb on the outside of our partner's knee. And from here, we're just gonna come up and we're gonna run towards our partner's center line. Everything that we're trying to do is to try to drag the knee away from the elbow and back down towards the center line to eventually get our partner's knees to point away from us. Okay, we talked about the goals in the first passing instructional. One of those goals is to get our partner's feet and knees pointing away from us. Okay, so the second we come into this position, she has knees pointing towards me. We're just gonna run. And once we get to this position, she'll be trying to pull the knee up to the chest. So from here, I just take my hand in like so, and I just bump her knee beyond my shoulder line. My shoulders come forward, and I just cover my partner's knee like so. And now from here, I just drive my knee to the floor. Now, the main danger you're gonna run into is your partner will take her knee or foot out on the floor, she'll post on your shoulders, and she'll shrimp away, and she'll invert the knee. If this happens, it's not a big deal. I can go back to another generic camping position where now I just pop back up. This time my partner's knee will be on the floor, and as my partner goes to recover, go ahead. We just go right back to a camp where now my partner's knee is on the ground. We can pass in a different fashion, which we'll look at next. But in order to stop this, when we get into this position, the second I see this, we're going to use one of two grips. Number one is my partner is trying to shrimp away, invert the right knee, and face me. Notice her left shoulder comes off the floor, and her upper body has to come towards me to face me. So the second I see this, if I can get a cross face, I'm going to come through, and from here, I'm just going to lock my hands on the far shoulder. And now I'm going to join right knee and right elbow. From this position, I'm going to lean my weight to my left leg, or lean my weight to my right leg, and step my left leg up. When she goes to start scooting away from me, the shoulders can't move now. Her left shoulder's pinned. I have control over my partner's legs to some degree because of the way that I'm splitting the legs. So when she goes to start walking away, I just walk with her, go ahead. Just walk with her. When she goes to use the upper body to post and move me away, she can't because of the position of my hands. And from here, it's a pretty easy thing to take your time now to go in and pass into various ways. You either punching into underhook. You can go in, push the legs down, start leg riding into mount. We can do a bunch of different variations from here. We can start taking hands up and over the head and start circling to north-south. There's a ton of different directions we can go, okay? Assuming this time we try to come in and get to a cross face and my partner stops me with this hand like so. The second I see this hand can always come to the inside position. And now I'm going to reach high. As she goes to track my arm, I pommel the hand inside like so. And now I just cut the elbow back. I punch in a near side underhook, and we go in and we lock our hands in the same fashion, whether it be 10 finger or whether it be with a palm to palm here. Now, as she goes to face me, there's just no way. The shoulder can't move off the floor. Keeping the far shoulder pin is a big key ingredient here to pinning your partner. If I don't have control over the shoulder, she can extend the arms, the knee can invert, and the shoulders can come off the floor. So I make sure I focus on this far shoulder control. When she goes to bring everything back inside now, there's just nowhere she can move. And now it's a pretty easy thing to go into a variety of different passes from here. Okay? So we go in, we start camping. We move to this position, her knees pointing upwards. We run. We get to this leg drag position here. Now the biggest danger is disconnection between my upper body and hers. where she pushes, she scoots, and she faces me. Worst case scenario, I see this happen, go ahead. We just go right back to a camp once again. Best case scenario, we start here. We come in, we go inside bicep tie. We can always clear this frame off. You gotta push hard. You can always clear this frame off. Now, if I go cross face, there's no frame here maybe, where the frame slips off, I can go to a cross face, and we can lock in like so. Now, when she goes to start moving away from me, the shoulder can't move, she can't extend the body, she can't push me away. It's a very difficult thing to start inverting that knee. Okay, get the knees fully facing away from me, and now you have a choice of where you want to go. There's almost an endless amount of possibilities from here, passing to north-south, passing to side control, pulling a near side underhook in after the fact, passing across to this side, passing to mount. You can do a bunch of different things. We looked at a lot of different ways that we passed, and we can pass in passing in the first passing instructional. So I'm going to reference those if you guys want, more passing from leg drags and stuff like that. The second way that we can go in and pin our partner's far shoulder is this time she goes to post to my shoulders. We take the inside frame like so. I try to reach high and go to the far shoulder. She follows me, and we just pommel the elbow to the inside. So if I just try to go inside, she just closes her elbow here. So I go 1, 2. So as she goes to follow, and you can do this, maybe the first time or second time it won't work. I'll be going here, here, here. Eventually, we're going to get that elbow to the inside. And now from here, we just punch a near side underhook in, and we go in, and we lock up. From here, she goes to her best to start scooting away. There's just no way she can ever face me. The far shoulder can't leave the floor. The legs are pinned. The knees are pointing well away from me now. And it's the easiest thing in the world to start going into a various amount of tacks, depending on what your partner chooses to do. Okay? So we have an upward facing knee. We convert to a leg drag. So we're camping. We convert to a leg drag. Now the biggest danger is she creates a disconnection with the shoulders. We come in 1, 2, or 1, 2. We play this game. And now, wherever she goes from here, I just walk and I follow and I make sure those knees stay pointed away from me and I make sure that far shoulder stays pinned. And now there's a variety of different things you can do depending on what your partner does with their hand and leg position. All right, so now let's look at, we get into this camping position, and my opponent has an outward facing knee, like so. Again, she has knee and elbow connection. She's trying to frame. My whole thing is to run the knee away from the elbow and drag the knee back towards the center line to exploit the space between the knee and the elbow. Okay, if I can do that, I can pass. Now understand, this is a losing battle for your opponent. If you can stay on the knee, and I can run for a certain amount of time, she will be able to keep the knee and the elbow connected. But if you just run a circle, it's only a matter of time until the knee and the elbow drift apart, and you can start exploiting that space. So what this is going to look like is I'm camping here for 10, 20, 30, 40 seconds. And then when I'm ready to go, I just start walking. And I get to a situation like so. Now, when you fall, this is a very important thing. Because your hand is on the inside of the hip, your elbow's on the inside of the hip, when you get to this position, there's nothing stopping your partner from scooting away from you and re-inverting the knee, okay? The big mistake everyone makes that they fail when they're trying to actually hit these passes is as they fall, they attempt to fall with square hips. Then they try to go right for the far hip, and as they're doing that, the space between my knee and elbow and my elbow and hip are exploited, and she inverts the knee and she recovers. And now my hand's out of position and your partner can sometimes recover. I make sure that when I fall into this position, notice I have my left leg up and I have my right knee down so that my hips are bladed like so. Now I don't expect to stay static and catch my partner's far hip. What I don't do is reach to the far hip, like so. I stay on the inside of the hip. So worst case scenario, she reinserts the knee. She runs right back into my hand. I pop back up. And now we're camping once again. Once I get to this position, I stay on my toes. Repeat. I stay on my toes and I get to the far shoulder. From here, I just place my hand on the floor. I don't try to reach for the crossface. She's always going to block me with her frame. She's good. So I place my hand on the floor. Now, from this position, her whole thing is to shrimp away and invert the knee, like so. So I stay in this position and I get into an athletic stance on my toes. When she goes to run away from me and shrimp, 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 I just walk with her. If she's very disciplined, what will happen is her knees won't crumble and face away from me. What's going to happen is we'll walk a circle until she runs into this wedge that will turn into a crossface. So instead of trying to take my crossface to her, I bring her head to my crossface. So we're here, she goes to run a circle, and she runs into that crossface until she can circle no more. And now, only once the knees point away from me, do I shelf the legs, and now I can come over to the underhook if my partner's naive, or if she's good, I punch the inside bicep tie-in, I let the palm on my head, and we go into our passes from here. Okay? So this time, we get to this J-point camping, her knees pointing towards me. From here, we have a hand and the thumb inside the knee. If the knee's pointing towards me, like so, we go thumb outside. From this position, we just start running a circle. Until we can exploit that space. And now I finish in this position. Left leg up, right leg down, my hips are bladed. Do not drop to this position. Where I go to chase the far hip, and as that happens, she scoots away, she times me, and now this underhook that's outside the hip is a liability. There's taikotames, there's clamps, there's all kinds of things from there. So I finish here. I plant my hand. She goes to start shrimping away, inverting the knee. I just walk a circle like so. And now from here, I either go cross face or near side underhook. It's a pretty easy thing to shelf my partner's leg. Start going into all of our top pin variations right from there. Okay? So what this is going to look like is simple. The second you exploit the space between the knee and the elbow, we drop down and then we chase the hips. Do not get overzealous and go towards the head. Your partner will always invert the knee and recover side guard. So we come in. She goes to start recovering. And from here, we're ready to go in, pin the far shoulder, shelf our partner's legs, and get to a top pin. Okay? So we exploit that space. And then we walk towards the hips, towards the hips, towards the hips. So we point the knees away from us. You're in this loaded athletic stance. So I can quickly take my knee off the floor and just walk with my partner's hips. Okay? I drop down to the floor only when I see my partner's knee is coming right about the same width as her shoulder. So if you draw a line from the shoulder straight down, anything equal to or inside that line gives me enough time to drop down. If the knee is outside the line of the outside shoulder, and I try to drop, you'll run right into the knee. So I get that knee inside the line of the shoulder. Now I can drop. Now I'm on my toes from here. She goes to run away from me. My right knee comes off the floor, and I just shuffle with her. Go ahead. Now, once we point our partner's knees away, we can drop down to two knees with square hips and go to work right from there. Okay? We just run a circle, and it's a tiring game. You run the circle, you're camping, you've already been there for 20 seconds, the knee drifts away from the elbow, and then as the knee drifts, two things. Do not fall to two knees with square hips to allow your partner to invert the knee, and don't get overzealous going towards the head, trying to get control of your partner's head and shoulders, and exploit space between your own knee and elbow. Okay? Ultimately, what she's trying to do is to connect her knee and elbow. And ultimately, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get almost my knee to my elbow. Either inside, like so, or outside, like so. And that's what allows me to start pinning my partner. Okay? So I don't create this huge gap between my knee and my elbow by coming towards the head, and now she can bring the knee back inside. So I land with staggered hips, and I keep a strong knee and elbow connection or knee to hip connection like so. So now, as she goes to start running away, she can't exploit that space. I can start walking her down, pointing the knees away, and mix a pass very easy from there. Okay, so a little bit different than the mechanics you're usually used to, but super important and very, very effective.